Good morning. We'll start in few minutes. The other students will join. Uh, okay. CR is here.
Yes, sir.
Uh, what is the status of other courses about the oral and the lectures?
Sir,
And next week's
lectures are
uh, next week's the lectures are there, na?
yeah, sir, but till 18th only.
And what about the submission and all?
Uh, for other subject there will be end sem and oral, sir. And practical submissions and orals are going on currently.
So how they are managing? Because I think the other peoples might have the practical turns. We don't have the practical turns, no.
Yeah, sir.
Mm. So okay, we'll decide uh, about your the submission and semester examination paper and everything on tomorrow. Okay, we have tomorrow lecture, so we'll discuss that on tomorrow. So today just I wanted to cover some parts so that I'll complete. Okay. Mm. So we'll start with this memory management. Okay. So we have seen, we have completed that the CPU management or CPU scheduling kind of things in last lecture. So in this unit, we will just go with the memory management. Okay. So so is it visible the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just we'll see that memory management. So, see, actually, this memory management is what? So, this is just a method of managing a primary memory. So, as we know, there are two types of memories are there in our computer or system. So, first one is ROM, and second one is a RAM, right? So, if we consider these two, and when we compare these two, so this RAM size is very large. We can say it's very huge size, but this has limited size, right? So that's why whatever data we normally keep, that we keep on this the ROM, this is also called as secondary memory, or this is also called as hard disk, right? So whatever data we just keep, all data we normally keep on this hard disk or the secondary memory, because this is very huge, the memory kind of, we can say. So that's why the normally there is the not that much necessity to manage this one, but the when we consider this the primary memory, this is a RAM, so it is having limited size, right? And this is most useful for execution of any process or program, we can say, right? So it is the limited. Others are also there, the kind of the storages like registers or cache memory also we can say. But see, these are very small, these two, very small, right? But as compared with these two, this one is the bigger one. Now here, so whatever the management required, that management required in this primary memory, or we can say the RAM, right? And the other thing is that we know, suppose when we have, suppose this is a CPU, so to the CPU, that the secondary memory is not directly connected, right? So two memories are there. So one memory is directly connected to the CPU and second memory is not that directly connected to CPU. That is directly connected to the primary memory. So for the CPU, so which memories are connected normally? So we can say registers, cache, and we can say RAM. These the three memories are directly connected to this the processor, but whatever is the hard disk or the secondary memory like this is ROM, right? So this is connected to this RAM. So this is not directly connected to the CPU. That's why normally we say when we want to execute any process or any program, so which is resided on the secondary disk. So first we need to bring into the primary memory and from primary memory to the processor for the execution. So that reason is this is not directly connected to the CPU. So first we bring into the primary memory and from primary memory to the CPU. Then we can execute that file. Simple, suppose consider one abc.txt file is there. So which is stored here. So suppose we want to open this file. So what we can do here? So whenever we just double click on this, when we double click on this abc.txt file, so we first bring that abc.txt file into the primary memory here, and from here then we can open that file with this, right? So here you just understand, for every operations we need to access this primary memory, and that primary memory is very limited, so we need to manage it properly, then and then we can execute the multiple programs or multiple the processes simultaneously. So it means that multi-programming, right? So for multi-programming, we need to manage this, the primary memory very well. Then and then we can achieve this multi-programming goal. And that other thing also we know, so that processor we cannot keep idle at any moment. That processor we try to keep busy every time, and to keep this processor busy, so we need the number of processes in our hand, and that hand means what? That is a primary memory. If suppose multiple processes are there into the primary memory, then immediately we can that processor can take that memory that process from the primary memory, if that process is there. If that process is not there, then the time will be needed to bring that process from secondary memory to primary memory. So to avoid that, so we keep the multiple processes into the primary memory, so that we can keep that processor busy at every time, right? So, and the one thing again that we know, so currently that sizes like for the RAM, sizes from KB to now we are coming with GB, like uh, initially that size was 256 MB, when we were having that Celeron or the P1, P2, P3 processors. So at that time, 256 or 512 MB. Now then, that size will increase like 1 GB, and now I think we have that available memory of 16 GB. Right? Now, why require this 16 GB, 1 GB, and something? One example I'll just tell you. Suppose one process is there that suppose this is a process and that process size is like 8 GB, and we have suppose primary memory at site size is 4 GB suppose. Now in this case, can we execute or open this process? So that answer is no, because that size of this process is 8 GB and size of memory is the 4 GB. So we cannot bring the process, entire process into the primary memory because that the size is very small. Right? But suppose that process is there, like this is process and it's 4 GB and RAM is also 4 GB. Then how many processes we can bring into this? So 4 GB by 4 GB. So we can say one. So one process we can bring into the primary memory, right? So one example, I think that there's a known example is like suppose you want to play any game and that game size is very large, like in GB or something. And to play that game, we need to bring that game into the primary memory, and then we can play that game. So if your that the game size is very large and if your memory size is very small, then in that case we cannot play that game. It means we can say so that the whatever is the machine, that machine cannot support to the that game, right? Again, that processor does matter because whatever is the speed of that game, so that speed and that processor speed again that needs to match. But the one constant is what? If suppose that size is very large of that game, and if your memory size is very small, in that case also we can machine will not support that game. Right? So I think you just understood this why the memory management is required, because the memory is very the important constant into the operating system. Now there are some the memory management techniques are there that we'll see. So memory management techniques. So actually these are divided into the two type. One we can say is contiguous and non-contiguous. So these are the main two types, and under this, so one is fixed partitioning. Also, we can call this as a static, and here variable partitioning. Also, we can call this as a dynamic. And when we consider this of non-contiguous, so here there are 5 types are there, and these are the important types. We'll just focus on these non-contiguous the type. So here first one is the paging. This is one technique. Then second is multi-level paging. Then inverted paging. segmentation, and segmented paging, last one. Right. So these are the 5 techniques we can say. We'll just focus on these also. So these are the important, but these are the old techniques. These the contiguous. So whatever the fixed positioning of, actually this was used in the very early period, like in 1960s or something. Also, this was used in mainframe computer. Right. So and the that era is 1960 or something. So right now this technique is not used into the operating system, right? So we'll see. First, we'll the today we'll just try to complete this portion, right? First, we'll see what is contiguous and non-contiguous, and then we'll just go with the these two, fixed size and fixed and variable partitioning, right? So here that name indicates that contiguous means what and non-contiguous means what. So this name indicate that is the something in continuous manner. Like suppose there are some processes are there. So how these processes will be allocated into the memory. So that is nothing but the contiguous and non-contiguous thing. So when we consider the contiguous, so the processes are placed into the memory in one sequence, and in non-contiguous the type, so whatever the processes we keep into the memory, so these are kept random kind of thing, so not in one kind of sequence or something, right? So if suppose here, suppose p1, p2, p3 and p4, these 4 are the processes, and suppose this is the RAM. See, whenever we consider that RAM, so first portion that is reserved by the operating system, that we know. You can try it. Suppose you want to check what is the size of your primary memory in your computer or laptop. So how we can do? So we can right click on that the my computer, and there that size would be given. Like suppose your the original size is 4 GB. So if you see that one, so it doesn't show that 4 GB, it shows something like 1.67 and something kind of, right? So it will not show that exact 4 GB. So it shows something, this one, less than that 4 GB, whatever is your size. So less than that size, it shows that size. That reason is what? So whenever we just start your computer or the laptop, so your operating system first resides into the primary memory. So whatever is that the remaining portion that we consider for the operating system. So there that operating system resides. Suppose this is the memory. So whatever is the first slot, so that first slot is for the operating system, right? Now whatever are these blocks, consider these are the some blocks. So here these are the processes. So in contiguous manner, how we can keep the processes in sequence like P1, P2, P3, P4 and something like this. So this is nothing but the contiguous and non-contiguous that reverse to this. So that same example, if suppose the processes are like 4, so how we can keep these processes into the memory. So first portion always goes for the operating system, and in non-contiguous, so might be first process is P4, then P2, then P1, then P3, something, right? So this might be the sequence in the non-contiguous, and if you consider the contiguous, so there is some kind of sequence, whatever is this sequence of processes, right? Now here, if we consider contiguous, so there are again two techniques we can see: the fixed positioning and the variable positioning. Again here, that name indicates something, right? So fixed means that the fixed kind of something is there, and in variable is what the variable kind of thing is also there. So fixed partitioning, so here or also we can say static. I think you peoples have idea about the static word. So static word normally in programming that we use, if we reserve that memory at compile time, then we can say that is a static. And if we reserve that memory at runtime, then we can say that is a dynamic, right? So in programming, this word also we used, but in this operating system also. So before just starting the or bringing the processes into the memory, so we first keep this size fixed, right? So suppose it is having the some drawbacks also. First portion suppose always goes for the operating system, and it fixed like four partitions, right? So 0, 1, 2, and 3. So the number of partitions are fixed. This is a fixed size. And here the number of the partitions are fixed. These are 4. Here. So how many consider 4? Right? So then what would be the drawback of this? And also we can specify suppose size, sorry, 4 GB suppose, oh, sorry, MB. Right? So here the main drawback is what here? Because the size is fixed, the number of partitions are fixed, so the number of partitions are 4. And if you have suppose more than 4 processes, then we cannot bring into the primary memory. That is the main drawback of this also. And the others are also that I'll just tell you. See, suppose consider one process is there, that is P1 process, and it needs like 4 MB. Now where we can keep this 4 MB process? So definitely we can keep that 4 MB process over here, right? So P1 suppose, right? P1 process we can keep here because that the block size is 4 MB and that processor's need is again 4 MB. So we can keep this one. But suppose the other case is there of like one process is there. The second scenario that we'll see here. Same that the representation that you consider here. 4, 8, 8, and 16 MB, right? So all these are in MB. Suppose that process that P2 and its requirement is 2 MB. Now, if you see this, in all the partitions that 2 MB slot is not there. That minimum slot is of 4 MB and then rest are 8 MB and 16 MB. So if we want to keep this P2 process into this, so where we can keep, so here we can keep that. So I can keep this, sorry, P2 here, but that size is what? 1 minute, I'll just use this. Size is this one, right? This is P2. This is P2 and that size is 2 MB, right? So this one we can consider this has been reserved, right? And whatever is this block, this one, this has been vested here, right? Suppose again the other process we can consider, that is like P3. Suppose that is requirement is 32 MB. Now can I keep that 32 MB process into this? So as there is no slot of this 32 MB, so we cannot keep that one. Maximum is what? 40 MB slot is there. So we cannot keep this 30 MB process into this memory. So this is again one drawback. Suppose P3 is P4, one process P4 and its need is like 7 MB, right? So where we can keep that P3 here, P4, so we can keep here. Into this, and this is P4 and the blocks are reserved, right? But see, in these two processes again, P2 and P4, whatever the two processes we just kept here, in this and this, whatever is this slot, this is not actually slot, this memory space has been vested here. Because other process we cannot keep here. Suppose one more process is there, like P5 is process and its need is like 2 MB, right? So in that case, this 2 MB process we cannot keep here. P5, right? Because this portion is vested and this is nothing but, or we can say this is called as, here I'll just write here, internal segmentation. This is called as internal segmentation. So whatever this space we wasted in this P2 and P4, so that space is nothing but the internal segmentation. Have understood this? So here the we can say advantages are not that much, but the disadvantages are very large. So that's why in the current days, the technique is not used. This is fixed partitioning, right? Now, what about the variable size? See here in this fixed size, you just consider that size of this is fixed in advance, right? But when we consider variable partitioning, it is also called as dynamic. See, main drawback from the fixed is this internal segmentation. You just consider this. This is again a main drawback, that is the internal segmentation, right? Now here, that reverse to that fixed partitioning, that variable partitioning is what? So dynamic meaning is what? At runtime, we think everything. So at runtime, we just reserve that memory for that process, any process. Now we'll consider the example so that you will understand this. Suppose this is RAM. First part that is been resolved, that is for the OS. Now see, here in advance we cannot keep the slots. So whole memory is available here for every process right now because this is the beginning. So that complete the memory is available here. Now consider one process is there, that is P1 process. You can consider we'll start from 2 MB. So where we can keep that P1 process. So as this whole memory is free, so only whatever is the size of this P1, that much size will be reserved at runtime like this. This is we can say this is P1, right? So it is 2 MB. Now consider that next process, that is P2, and its requirement is like 4 MB. Then again that same thing, this memory is available. Here you can see this portion is available. So from this portion only we'll just reserve that 4 MB, like this one. This is for P2 and this is 4 MB slot. Because as per need we just reserve. In the fixed partitioning, that partitions were fixed, these partitions were fixed, right? But when we consider the variable size or variable partitioning here, when that process comes, so as per the need of that process we reserve that memory. So here P1 requirement is the 4, so it is reserved, right? Now consider that next process, that P3, will consider 8 MB, right? So for the 8 MB, this whole space is available. So we can say here we can keep the, sorry, here we can keep this P3, right? And this is 8 MB. So if you see here, so we are not wasting any kind of memory here. But again, it is having some drawbacks. But when we consider that fixed size partitioning, so there that internal fragmentation problem was there, this one. But when we consider the variable partitioning, here one problem is also there, and that problem I will say that the external fragmentation. So what that external fragmentation, that I'll just tell you. Right? Now consider these three, when we consider these three processes here, we are not wasting any kind of memory, but you just assume that P1 gets completed its execution. This P1 gets completed its execution. So P1 gets completed its execution. This is OS. This one, right? So P1 completed. Now here only P2 and P3, these three processes are there. And this whatever is this P1 here, just consider P1 completed its execution. So after execution, that processor will release that process, right? So this block becomes empty, this one. And these are reserved. This you can say. But here again, consider that P4 process arrived and its need is 4 MB. Then, because available size is this 2 MB, this is 4 MB, but this is not free. P2 is not completed its execution, and this is 8 MB. Again, that P3 is not completed its execution, right? So here again, this kind of limitation, but when that limitation is coming here, when that memory is full, you just consider that memory is full, then and then that P4 is not getting chance to execute. Now one more scenario that I'll just tell you here. consider this is first slot, second slot, third, fourth, kind of. This is 2 MB slot. This is 4 MB. It is occupied by, sorry, P2. P2, and this is by P3. Suppose one more process is there, that is P5, and its need is P5 need is 2 MB. Consider this is 2 MB. This is 8 MB. Again, consider that P6 is process, its need is 4 MB, right? So this is P6 and its need is 4 MB. And assume whatever is this process P5 again completed its execution. Now that final representation would be, so how these are P2, P3 and P5 completed. This slot is free. Then this is P2, this for P3, this for P5, P6 something. P2, P3, that's P5 completed, and this is P6, right? So these processes needs to complete their execution, and its size is 2 MB. This is 2 MB. This is 4, 8, and this is 4, right? All are in MB. Now consider one process is there, that is P7. Now assume this is full, this one, this one. So P7 need is 4 MB. Now, is there any slot which is of size 4 MB? So no, there are two slots. These two slots are free, but this is 2 MB and this is 2 MB, right? So we cannot keep this P7 in either in this slot or in this slot. So this is nothing but whole, right? Now how we can remove this drawback? So suppose you want to remove this drawback, then we need to club these two memory blocks, right? So we need to club these two, then and then we can say that 4 MB is free. But right now that hole has been created of size 2 MB and 2 MB, and that requirement of our process is 4 MB. So we cannot keep this 4 MB anywhere. So we need to club this, and that combining these two slots is called as compaction. So when we combine these two slots, so that is nothing but compaction. So when we club these, so we can say combining. Slots. So to combine these two slots, that the technique is called as compaction. But see, again, this is not that much simple, that compaction, because if you want to club these two, this and this slot, it means we need to shift all these processes from their original that position or that slot to the new position, because this P2 we need to shift over here, then P3 again we need to shift, and P6 also we need to shift, so that after compaction that representation would be, so this is for P2, P3 and P6, and whatever is this is 4 MB free, right? But original, whatever the original size of P2, P3, P4, that size is not here because we shifted that one so that we can create that this slot of 4 MB. Now P7 with 4 MB we can store here. Getting this? So this is the, we can say drawback is also there, that we can overcome the drawback also here in the variable, or we can say or dynamic partition. Okay, have understood? Tell this if you have any doubt, just ask me please. So that one concept again I just want to tell you with respect to this, then we'll in next lecture we'll just go with the other techniques. So meanwhile, if you are having any doubt, please ask me, right? Next part that we'll see, but meanwhile you can ask me the question. So
Sir,
next, yes,
so for this P7 4 MB, right? We can combine the first slot and the second. This
which one?
The first slot and the fourth slots. In here. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
This we
here
can
na
combine
this
it.
one actually see, combining is for us on paper that we are saying we are combining this one, but what we are doing here, so we are shifting all the, suppose this P2 process is there, we are shifting with this. It means this 2 by 2 MB and sorry 2 MB and the 2 MB from this slot. So this much portion will be reserved for the P2. Same thing for the this P3 also. So in this way, whatever is the last memory block, these will be free.
Okay,
Getting the
sir.
point?
So in this, the below one column is the right. This P2 size is actually 2 MB.
Your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking.
Sir, in this last column, the size of this P2 slot is 2 MB because we have removed 2 MB from
No.
previous.
See, here that this becomes 4 MB.
Okay.
That I'm saying. This becomes 4 MB. Then this P3 requirement is 8 MB. And this is 4 MB. And that whatever the last one, that becomes 4 MB. So whatever the total size of this one, that becomes as it is.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Hmm. Any other? So you can ask if any doubt. Otherwise, we'll just go with the next or the point. That is the simple point actually. Force feet. That is one concept. The next is next feet. These are the simple concept. Again, best fit and worst fit. So all these concepts are related to this memory allocation, right? So these name indicate something. So you will understand what is the meaning of first fit, next fit. This is right. So first fit, next fit, best fit, and worst fit. That name indicates something. So if you consider the first fit, so whatever is, suppose one process is there like P1, so that P1 process will keep in the first slot, that is the first bit. So we can say here, we can allocate the first hole, whatever is the hole, that present hole. So we allocate that first hole which is big enough then, so to accommodate that process. So we can say here, allocate the first hole which is big enough. So you can consider here, okay, I'll just redraw it again. Or first, I'll just tell you the definition of all these, and then I'll just take one example so that you will understand it. Next one is the next hole, next fit. So this is similar to the first feed, only it starts searching. It starts searching from for the whatever the last allocated hole. So from that it starts searching the free hole, right? So we can say this is similar to the first feed, or we can say it is same as first feed. Only it starts searching from last allocated hole. Now best fit. So in this only the best fit is the suitable, because whatever is the best option that we select here. So we allocate the smallest hole, and that should be again big enough. So allocate the smallest hole, which is big enough. Which is big enough to accommodate that process. And worst is, that is not again the good thing that name indicates. So here, sorry, again I am writing fix here, fit. So in this case, whatever the largest hole, that we consider for the allocation. So we can say allocate largest hole. So if you see the definitions of all these, so from these definition we can understand what is the meaning of this and what would be the scenario there. So in first fit, so whatever is the first hole, that we consider for the allocation of the process. In next fit, so similar to first fit, only whatever the searching of free hole, that it start from the last allocated hole. That is the thing. And best fit, so whichever is the smallest hole, but that should be big enough to accommodate that process. So that we find out, and there we keep that process. And worst is obviously whichever is last, that largest hole, so that we consider for the allocation of the process. So one example I'll just tell you, and then we'll stop here. Consider suppose process P1, this is reserve, this is hole, will consider consider this is 20K or 10K, whatever. Then this is P2, this one is reserve, this is hole, we can say double of this KB, this KB, yeah, kilobyte. And then again consider this is P3, this is reserve, this is hole, like 80 KB. Then this is P4 process, this is reserve, and suppose 10K, and this is next process P5, right? Now see, consider here, we'll see these feeds and definitions. Consider that P1 is the process, and which size is like suppose 13 KB, right? So when we consider the first feed, right? When we consider the first feed, so where we can keep this 13 KB process, so here we can keep this. So here we can keep this 14 sorry, 13 kb process, because that name is first fit. First fit. So here that size of process is 13 kb and that whole size is 20 kb. So this will be stored here, right? So we can say that P1 process will be stored here. But again, that same problem will come if we consider this, oh, this one, consider this is P1, and whatever is this portion, whatever the 7 kb, that will be wasted, and that we can say as internal fragmentation. Okay. Or suppose that next process is like consider, sorry, this is not P2, P1, this is P6 consider, because P1 is already there. Now suppose P7 is the process and that size required is like, oh, suppose 17 kb, right? Now where we can keep here 17 kb. So if you consider the first fit, so this is reserve. Now this block is there, but this is of 4 kb, so this size is not matching, then it is coming here, right? So this is the first free hole we got it. So that's why we can keep this 17 kb into this 80 kb floor. But see, you can see here that size of this hole is 80 kb and that process need is 17 kb. So how much that space you are wasting under that internal fragmentation, right? And suppose that same, for the same case we consider the next fit. So here in this case, suppose first block is allocated, then whatever the searching of next free block, that will be started from here in the next way. And one more process you just consider, that is P8, that we can say suppose 9 kb, right? So here if you consider this, the first fit, so that 9 kb will be stored here under, sorry, under this 80 kb again. When we consider next fit, so that will start searching from here, and again this will keep into this. And when we say that base fit, so where that 9 kb will be stored here, so it search all the slots, and from this slot this will find out the minimum slot which is big enough. So here this is gone, suppose this is 4 kb, this is 80 kb, and this 10 kb. So this is the smallest one, this 4 kb one, but this is not enough to fit this P8 process. And now next smallest one is the 10 kb. So this one is the big enough to store this P8. So we can say here we can keep in the best fit. And again 1 kb is wasting here. And if you consider the worst fit, suppose that same diagram you just consider and process that P9, and suppose only 2 kb is requirement. So in this case, where we can store this P9, so obviously that will be stored here in the worst case into this 80 kb block. Have you understood this? So this is very simple, the example you can consider here. Only you need to understand the definitions. Once you understand the definitions, then whatever is the problem, that will be easily solved. In exam, they might ask such kind of problems also, because you need to fit that given process into the suitable hole. If suppose that you are missing that hole and you are keeping suppose any other in any other hole, so it means your answer is incorrect. Okay. So I think this is very simple. First fit, next fit, best and worst fit. So we can stop here. If any doubt, please you can ask me. Anything? So this is the simple one, simple concept. So tomorrow we'll just start with this, where it is, this one, this portion. Okay, this portion we'll just start it tomorrow. So if any doubt, you can ask me, please.
Sir, can you please send this Vivo to our mail if possible?
This one, na?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll just
Upload on
upload
website.
on that website, na.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
That previous one also I have just uploaded, right? So this one again I'll just upload there. So anything? Tomorrow we'll discuss about this submission and the end semester question paper and all. So tomorrow don't be absent. So tomorrow we'll just discuss the important things and whatever the query from your side. So again we'll just try to solve these queries and we'll finalize the format of paper and all. Okay. And one more thing, if you are not feel that feedback, so please that feel that positive feedback. Okay. I think only 30 or 33 students have feel that feedback. So the other student also you just complete that feedback. Okay. So if any doubt you can ask, otherwise we'll just stop here.